Hi everyone, this is Vivi Cameron for Tonic Studios, and today I'm going to be sharing about Nuvo watercolor pencils. So you will be surprised as I added color to those samples using mainly Nuvo watercolor pencils for the backgrounds and for everything. So these pencils are extremely versatile. And with a little bit of creativity in this video, I hope you will be able to make different things and super cool things for card making. So these are water-soluble pigments in the shape of a pencil. Although they look similar than any other pencils you might have, the main plus of these pencils is that they easily blend with water. The name of each color is on the pencil as you see there. They come in metal tints, and there are 5 different sets available in the Nuvo range. Each set includes 12 colors, so we have 60 different colors. You will find the colors of the pencils on the back of the tints, and I will only use those colors on the metal tints as a reference because the colors will never look the same as in paper. And I really love these metal tints because they allow me to keep organized. When I'm going to work with these watercolor pencils, I just place them in a row like that at the top of my desk or at the side, and I'm ready to go. So I wanted to do quick color swatches first, and I quickly want to show you how I do this. So I stamped basic images on watercolor paper, and I'm going to apply colors on a corner or on the half of the images. But it doesn't have to be the half of the images. I just need to make sure that I'm laying down enough color to cover the image and to see how this color looks when I apply water. So I'm going to use a water brush, and this brush is slightly wet. And I'm going to start blending the pigments like you see there. And you can see how pigmented and vibrant are these pencils. So I'm going to clean the brush to be able to get that color degradation in that corner there. So I did this with all the color swatches for the watercolor pencils, and I'm sharing pictures of these swatches on the Tonic blog today. You can find the link to the blog post in the video description. I laid down the colors on the color swatches as you find them on the metal tints, so I can guide myself and I know what is what. I also made these swatches very small so that I can store them inside the metal tints. And although I don't do it very often, color swatching is a great thing to do because you can see the real colors of the pencils. And this will make so easy to choose the colors later. If you are planning to do stamping and add color with these pencils, you can use waterproof inks or water-based inks that will be blended and mixed with the pigments of these pencils. And to add colors, I rest the side of my hand on the table for support, control, and precision, and I hold the pencil as if I was holding a pen to write. I apply light to medium pressure to apply one layer of color or various colors at the same time. And then I say it again, I'm going to use a water brush slightly wet, and I'm going to avoid excess of water or excess of pigment on the brush. So it's as easy as that. That's all you have to bear in mind to use watercolor pencils. If you lay down different colors at the same time, you might need to start blending the colors from the lightest color to the darkest, just like I'm doing there, so you can achieve that blending and that degradation of color. So there is no rocket science. You can also blend the colors to create new shades. And if you are newbie to the watercolor pencils world and you have little money, I would recommend to get primary colors so that you can blend them and achieve all the colors in the universe. Another thing is I don't really like to apply the watercolor pencils on wet as I did there, just to show you, because this flattens the paper. It makes layering the colors a little bit more challenging, so I don't like it. And if you see this closer, you will see that stain on the paper. While when you apply the pencils on dry, you will always and forever get that degradation of color, and they always work. I'm using here Arches watercolor paper. So here I just wait for the color to dry. And another thing is I also went out of the image because I wanted to show you that these pigments are translucent. Even if you apply these colors over the lines of the images, you will be able to see the image underneath or the lines. So they are translucent. They are not opaque. This means that they cannot be used on black because you won't see them. So since we are using makeup brushes for everything on card making, I also decided to do my own thing with makeup brushes and watercolor pencils. So I applied the pencil on a scrap piece of watercolor paper. I lift the color from that scrap piece of paper using the makeup brush, and I spread it on another piece of paper. So I thought that I could use that little technique with the stencils. Depending the size of your stencil or the area you want to cover with the pigment, you might need to lay down loads of color on a scrap piece of watercolor paper. And I will advise to keep rotating the pencil as you do this to keep the tip of the pencil sharp. Once you have done this, all you need to do is to place your stencil on a piece of smooth Bristol paper or any paper suitable for ink blending, and make sure that the brush is slightly wet. You don't want to have lots of water on that brush because these pigments are going to sip underneath the stencil, and the stenciled image is not going to be as nice as we want it to. So I keep rubbing the brush on the watercolor paper until I make sure that that brush is just slightly damp. And then all I have to do is to transfer that pigment over the stencil. And you can use any stencil you might have or any color, or you can also apply different colors at the same time. I'm going to dry this up, and I'm going to use a water brush to lift the color over that scrap piece of watercolor paper, just like that. And I'm going to splatter this panel just to show you that you can also do that. So I'm going to put a card together just to show you the whole idea. And all the images I'm using in this video are from the latest stamp release by Tonic Studios called Spring Dreams. So put card together is super easy. These stamp sets are super versatile and they are very beautiful. And in the video description, you will find links to have a look at this release. And it will allow you to enjoy coloring and stamping and experimenting with your Nuvo coloring mediums. And I also want to share with you another stenciled sample. For this one here, I'm applying the pigment directly on the card base. And this is a Craft Perfect card base. This is a C6 standard American card base. Of course, you can use any card base size. The important here is the quality of the paper, and these card bases are amazing. So you can do this directly on the card base without having any problem. Remember that the watercolor pencils looks darker when they are wet, but when they dry, they soften a little bit. So the stenciled image are going to settle when they are dry. For this specific card sample, I use Pastel Highlights watercolor set that includes the rainbow colors. It's just beautiful. And to add colors to these images, I first lay down a layer of color and I blend with a little bit of water and I apply another layer of colors just to build up the color. And having that fine and sharp tip is great because this allows me to reach those super tiny areas on those unicorns. They are really small, super easy to color. There is no mystery, there is not any secret. This is easy to do. And to have sharp and healthy watercolor pencils, you might need to get a nice pencil sharpener. If you get an inexpensive pencil sharpener, it's probable that it will break the tip of your pencils. Bear in mind that these pencils are not permanent, so every time you apply water, the colors are going to blend. You can blend these pencils also with other watercolor mediums you might have, such as watercolors, glitter markers, Nuvo Aqua Flow pens, or anything water-based. You can also use the pencils alone. You don't need to add water always. So you can also use the pencils on Nuvo alcohol markers artwork to add details, shadows, and contrast. And well, these pencils are a lot of fun. So I have lots of tips and information on the Tonic blog today. It doesn't fit in a video because it's quite a lot, but I think it's important for you to read it and to learn about the Nuvo watercolor pencils. This video is just an opening to that blog post to show you the pencils in action and well, to show you how cool it is to work with them. Okay, to finish this card, I'm going to add these die cuts at the bottom and the top of the front panel. I'm going to adhere the unicorns, stamp some sentiments, and a fun thing I want to share with you is how I made paper springs. So I just cut a piece of metallic gold paper and I'm going to wrap this around of a water brush or anything like this. And once I have this done, I just got my spring and I can just kind of stretch this out and glue it on the card. I really think that this adds a super fun element and I have done this like forever. I think it's super fun and super cute. And as finishing touches of my cards, I always use Nuvo crystal glaze. So I'm also showing you this here, although this video is all about watercolor pencils. So coming back to the background making topic, I just apply some heat embossing using Nuvo Clear ink and Nuvo Clear embossing powder. And then I also use the makeup brush to lift the watercolor pencil pigment applied on watercolor paper, just like that. And then using that brush, I can create that soft transition of colors on the paper. And I was very impressed to see the different looks you can achieve by using the same colors from one set, but mixing them with colors from other sets. So to color the images, on the left, I use bright colors, midtones, and pastel colors. And to color the images, on the right, I use bright colors and dark shadows. Okay, let's move forward. So I want to share with you another technique, super simple. And for this, you have to use pencil shavings. You know, you don't have to waste anything on your craft room. So all you have to do is to place the pencil shavings on the glass mat and apply a couple of water drops, just a few of them, okay? And wait for the pigment to melt. After waiting for a couple of seconds, I can also use the sponge to mash those pencil shavings against the glass mat. I tap the sponge on the stencil like so, and then I drag the color like I'm doing there just to spread that color over the cardstock. And I'm using there a Craft Perfect card base. So that cardstock is just perfect to do this. One of the things you need to avoid here is to have chunks of pencil shavings on the sponge so that when you pass the sponge over the cardstock, they don't scratch or create lines on the paper because that won't look nice. You can also use different colors of pencil shavings all together, or you can also use one at a time to achieve different looks and feels. So here the sky is the limit. You might need a little bit of practice and understand how this works. Be very gentle and don't worry. When the pencils dry, the colors are going to look a lot more subtle. And I don't want to forget to say that you don't need to re-ink the sponge a lot. There is enough pigment on the sponge to go over the whole panel. You might need to add a little bit, just a tiny bit of the pigment on the sponge to finish the panel, but not a lot, so that you will get that color degradation and you will achieve a nice background for a little card like this one. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's a lot more to share about Nuvo watercolor pencils, but this is a good start. I think hair and skin tones will be a super cool thing to explore, but I'm sure there will be more opportunities to share the joy of papercraft with you. Thank you very much for watching and happy crafting. Bye!